Hi, everyone. This is the Notes and Nostalgia podcast, and I'm your host, Livy Walters. Hi. Thanks for coming back for another episode. Is this episode 4? That's fun. I'm excited. Yay. Um, I I have been so busy. Very good things, but very busy, and I did not want to rush this episode. So I've had the at least a lot of the research done for a hot minute, but I didn't want to rush the episode. So here we are. If you can see, it is nighttime. If you're watching, it's nighttime, guys. And it's 10 o'clock at night. And so it's Friday. And then tomorrow, you'll be listening to this. So Saturday, maybe, if you want to listen to it on Saturday. So I'm kind of cutting it down to the wire still. But I have energy and I was like, let's just do it. Let's do it. It'll be great. So, okay, this artist, I'm kind of getting right into it because there's a lot to talk about. Whoa. Also, if you hear me like tapping and stuff, that's just me. I still have not gotten a microphone stand. I'm hoping that's in this week, early next week thing that I'm getting for myself. So, yeah, also if you hear people screaming outside, that's not me. Obviously. But yeah, I live on campus. So people be screaming. Anyway, going back, let's get into it. This artist that we're going to be doing is Jim Croce. If you've never heard of this artist, you probably have heard a reference to at least one of his songs. Off the top of my head, I know. So if they mentioned Bad Bad Leroy Brown, you probably know that song. If you don't know that song, they've mentioned it in Friends. I bet you've heard it in other places. That is by far his biggest song, and you might know a few of his songs. So this is an artist that you might be familiar with, but I would love for you to fall in deeper and love even more because he's so poetic and so genius. This is one of my favorite artists, and I hold Jim Croce dear to my heart because he's so wonderful, and I don't know, I just really love him. But yeah, so also, before we actually get into it, I know I said it like 3 times, I've been horrible at staying connected on the Notes and Nostalgia Instagram. I need to do better at that, but I would love to hear you guys and what artists you want to hear about next. That is something that I would love to hear from. I'm I'm trying to get artists from kind of everywhere, and I'm not I'm not like just doing one, genre, but I want to kind of go all over the map. So if there's somebody that you want to hear, please let me know. Put it in the comments, message me. I would love to cater to what you guys want to hear as well, not just people that I pick. So yeah, let me know. This will be on Spotify, YouTube, and sometimes Apple Music takes a little bit longer, but it will be on, Apple Podcasts. So it will be on Apple Podcasts. So let me know, comment. That is so exciting for me. I want to get to know what you guys want. So anyway, a little plug there. I'll chill with that. But okay, let's genuinely actually get started into Jim Croce, shall we? Okay. Jim Croce is an artist that I don't think many people in my age know the songs, but definitely a cult favorite, I'd say. You know him, he's very loved. I grew up with him. He absolutely defined American folk rock in the early 70s. This is folk rock. Hear me out a little bit. I don't put him in the same category necessarily as Simon and Garfunkel, but the poetic, the poetic, I kind of, maybe, I feel like a little bit. The His poetic genius, I would compare to Simon and Garfunkel. You listen to it and you're like, whoa. I think I think Jim Croce is definitely a decent, more folk, a little bit, a little country and rock. There's definitely two different sounds for sure, but I kind of listen to songs, get my brain. But he is just this down to earth. It's just this poetic experience if you listen to his music, and he's this nice deep baritone. It's just I really love his voice, and I really hope you fall in love with his music and learn a thing or two. The reason I know Jim Croce is because of my dad, and I will talk about my dad throughout this whole podcast because he throughout my childhood remember I remember listening to Jim Croce in the summer for some reason. We would listen to it in the car. I remember this one day, very random, we were listening to okay, if you don't know this, maybe go research. Casey Kasem's American Top 40. That was, oh my gosh, early 70s through 90s, early 2000s maybe, where Casey Kasem was doing that. So I remember we were in the garage or something, and my dad was doing yard work, and Bad Bad Leroy Brown, which was his hit, that song came on. And I was like, it was just a sunny day. It was such a nice day, and I got to listen to it. My dad was doing yard work and was in the garage, and I just remember it for some reason. But it, and also this past winter, I fell in love with his music because he has a Christmas song, and it's really, really good. It's really good, and I wish I listened to it more. I need to really dive into it this winter, but the song is It Doesn't Have to Be That Way. And this has been on my family's Christmas list, like Christmas playlist, for as long as I can remember, I think. I think it's been on there for a long, long time. And after Christmas, this maybe February or January, my dad sat me down. He was like, you need to listen. Well, you need to listen to Jim Croce more. And I was like, okay. And so I'll kind of talk about that a little bit, but he would tell me stories of where he's like, I would wear this record out. He's like, I would look at every name, every little detail of the record. And that's something that we don't do, you know, I think it's also a blessing and curse because I was like, Dad, why don't you buy records? Why don't you buy records? Why don't you do CDs? He goes, if I was your age and somebody gave me a device I could ask it just to play any song, I would never touch a record again. I'd never touch a record. What is the point? And so I think that physical media is kind of a lost art, but my dad's like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I can look up every detail. I don't need to. I can tell Alexa to play me his greatest hits anytime and I could skip it whenever I want. He's like, I wanted this when I was a kid. It's like, that's fair. So I don't think we like look at every single detail now. But there's a balance to everything. So anyway, yeah, I'm just loving. I just love Jim Croce, and that's kind of a little bit of why I know Jim Croce. Um, so yeah. Anyway, this is kind of the timeline of his life. So James Joseph Croce, that's his full name. He was born on January 10th, 1943 in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His parents were Jim and Flora Croce. Whoa. His parents were Jim and Flora Croce. So I'm guessing the Jim came from his dad. Also Jim, James, Joseph. I mean, it's a J. So his dad's name was Jim Croce. But Jim Croce's name is actually James. James Joseph. That's not confusing, right? Anyway, he grew up listening to country and ragtime. And when he was 5, he learned the song Lady of Spain on the accordion when he was 5. So from a young age, he was picking up music. He was just like, this is my thing. And the accordion is so interesting. So he grew up on country and ragtime. You'll see this. You'll see this. He graduated from Upper Darby High School in 60, so 1960, and he went to Villanova University in 61. This is when he started to take music more seriously. So he was in many bands, and I kind of saw this in the research I was doing, where was he was in many bands, and one of his bands was picked to do a foreign exchange tour of Africa and the Middle East. So this was in college. And he would talk about this experience very fondly and saying that his time on tour, he was like, I just was there and nobody spoke the language. Nobody could speak English, but people could feel the music and they understood, you know? And he was like, we were just laying outside. It was just very stripped back. No, you're outside, you're sleeping, you're intense, you're eating their food, you're doing their customs. And so he was like, we didn't speak anything, not the same language, but everybody still understood. And I thought that was really cool. So also during his time in college, he was a DJ for his college station, which was so cool. My uncle was actually, my mom would always tell me that, I guess, was it high school? Yeah. So my uncle actually also was a DJ for his high school. And I've heard a few stories about that. But I always thought that was really cool. Because you just don't have that. You don't have that anymore. What? You are a YouTuber instead, I guess. So after he graduated in 65, he worked a lot of odd jobs. So he was working in construction. He taught guitar at summer camps. He joined the National Guard briefly. And he was a junior high school teacher. So, oh, you can hear that. I bet you can hear that. Anyway, so these odd jobs are like essential to how his music comes across. And you'll see that if you listen, and I'll say that a bunch of times. But I just like that he just did that. He just did regular jobs. I feel like so many artists sometimes you hear that they were like musical prodigies and they were 3 years old and they were being trained. And yes, he picked up these things, but he still taught at summer camps. I don't know, it's just cool. So Jim Croce met his wife, Ingrid Jacobson. So he met her in college and they got married in 1966. That same year, he would release his first self-issued album. So it's called Faucets. So Faucets, this album would be made because his parents actually gave him $500 as a wedding gift to make this album. And so he got $500 and they're like, okay, here's this. And then they're like, what it said on this research was they just gave it to him to kind of get it out of his system. They're like, okay, we're going to invest a little bit and then he'll be kind of done and he can go back to doing whatever he needed to do. But he'll put this music thing away. But so they're like, he'll move on with his life. But the album had a limited printing of 500 copies. So he had 500 copies and he sold these copies at shows he was playing at, out of his car. He was just like handing these out and selling them, and he sold them all. So he was singing and doing all these things and he sold them all. So that didn't make him want to quit. That made him want to pursue music even more. I wonder what his parents thought. You know. So I listened to this album. I had no clue this album existed, and this is all covers. I'm almost entirely sure. I didn't write this down. I'm almost positive that this was all covers. So it's a collection of traditional folk songs and some jazz songs. I was listening and I'm like, I know this song and this is not folk or country. But he made it into like this folk country sound. So although it's very different from his later records, you can see this music that he was surrounded with as he grew up. And this album wasn't necessarily a hit, but I did want to give you some of my favorites from the album so that you might listen just to kind of see the evolution or how he evolved. So I really liked Sun Come Up. That was a really nice one. Hard Hearted Hannah. This was actually one of the songs that I was like, I know that song. This song is a jazz standard from the 20s. So many people have redone this as they do with jazz records. And it became very popular by Ella Fitzgerald. So Hard Hearted Hannah, I really like that. I also really like Ella Fitzgerald's version. I do like that song a lot. So it's All Over Mary Ann. That is another one that you can see his future or his later style kind of shine through, and kind of you see a glimpse. You see a little glimpse of his hits there, I think. And then Railroads and Riverboats. Those are my favorite. I would definitely give this a listen to just kind of see how he became. So now moving on. Now Jim and Ingrid wanted to become a musical duo. They were both like, we want to pursue this together, which is adorable. So they would go sing a mix of folk, blues, country, rock. They would travel for gigs. They'd just do a traveling and they'd sing at restaurants and steakhouses. And they were mostly doing covers of Woody Guthrie and Joan Baez. And if you don't know anything about those two artists, so Woody Guthrie and Joan Baez, Woody Guthrie is very country, a pioneer of country, I would say, absolutely. And Joan Baez is folk, Bob Dylan. Go listen to Joan Baez. I love Joan Baez. But if anybody saw The Complete Unknown, Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, Joan Baez was the same kind of, it was folk, I should say. Anyway. Then down the road, they started to write their own music. So they weren't doing covers anymore. they were writing their own. And Jim Croce actually landed them a regular spot at this steakhouse in Lima, Pennsylvania. So that's their regular spot. They had a regular gig. And then in 1968, Tommy West went to college with Jim. He kind of was like, you got something good here. Why don't you just try to go to New York? So he persuaded the couple to go to New York. This is when they signed a record deal with Capitol Records in 1969, and they would release their first album as a duo, and that was called Croce. So they would sign in 69 and release their first album, Croce. Okay. This album also flew under the radar. They played in colleges, they played in coffee houses, and they were just driving thousands of miles all over the place over the next 2 years, and that was kind of sadly it for this album. I liked this album. It was good. It's just not, and you could see Jim Croce, it definitely had a more fine-tuned sound a little bit because it's with Capitol Records. It's not just him. So that was kind of cool. But learning about this album was great. This is a few songs that I liked from the album. You have Vespers, Age, which is really good. Really liked Age. And then What the Hell. Guys, actually What the Hell was my favorite one from the album. It was actually pretty good. I liked that one a lot. So that's the album Croce. So after touring, the couple was kind of done with everything in New York, and they were done with everything the music industry, quote, had to offer. So they were like, I'm done. We're gonna pack up our bags. So they packed up their bags and went to Lindale, Pennsylvania. This is where their son, Adrian James, was born in 1967. Not 67? No. 1971. Sorry. Adrian James was born in 1971. And they were kind of wanting this quiet life. They were living this quiet life, I should say. Then again, Jim Croce would get odd jobs, construction, driving trucks. But now Jim would be writing songs about people he would be meeting in bars and truck stops, places he would be going. So he's writing these songs as he's at work, which was, you will see that. And this is what I love about Jim Croce. You absolutely see the human experience because he lived it. He was able to be like, I have this blue collar job, or I'm working a 9 to 5, and I see these people. So yeah. But during that time, so going back to 70, so 71 was when his son was born, but going back to 70, one of his college friends, Sal Joseph, introduces him to Murray, I'm gonna say this name wrong, Muehlhausen? Muehlhausen? Muehlhausen, sure. To Murray. So Murray was classically trained. He was a pianist and a songwriter. So Sal wanted to work, he was like, Sal was like, work together, write some songs, create some songs, and I want you to send these into ABC Records. I want you guys to work together and send these in. You've got something. Let's do this. So they did. They played around with Jim backing Murray on the guitar. So Murray would be singing, and then Jim would be playing in the back. But shortly after that, the roles reversed, and Jim was singing and Murray was playing guitar. So they sent these songs to ABC, and shortly after that, they met with a producer in New York. So this is where things start to kind of get going. And at this time, he's still living in Pennsylvania, but he's living this quiet life, but there's things happening still. So, okay, now fast forward again. So they met with a producer in New York, and in 1972, he signed with ABC Records. And we're moving in the right direction now. That same year, he released the album You Don't Mess Around with Jim. This record was an immediate success. We're just getting going. We're just really moving forward. And it went to the top 20 in the US. And the song, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, went to top... Sorry, okay, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. You Don't Mess Around with Jim, that's the album. Media success went to top 20. The song, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, was in the top 10, and then the song Operator reached top 20. So we're either top 10 or top 20. That's what I should say. I wrote this really poorly. This little part. That was confusing for even me. So, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, the song was in the top 10, and Operator, that's the song, reached in the top 20. And this album's a masterpiece. This is where you're seeing all of these people that he's meeting come to life. And you've seen these people before. You've heard about them. And he makes these almost like ordinary or maybe a little bit more than ordinary situations. And he brings this scene into it. So it's almost like a movie. And I'll kind of try to describe what I mean. So we're going to start with the song, You Don't Mess Around with Jim. This is a song about a real life pool shark. So, and his name is Jim Walker. And in the song, they say, Jim Walker, a pool shooting son of a gun. So these were real people. And after that, so you kind of have this person, this real life kind of event, but you have this. He was like, okay, what can I add to make this song interesting? He kind of let his imagination run wild. Because you can see, I picture this song as kind of like a Wild West type thing, where you're coming in, this guy is here. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to really listen to the song with the lyrics. It's great. And I love the dynamics that he uses, because you're in this scene, and then he says, and a hush fell over the pool room, and he gets kind of quiet. And it's just kind of, you just snap your fingers. The shifts in dynamic shifts are genius. And you can see this picture so vividly. It's so cool. And he does this with every one of his songs. So listen to that song, please. It's wonderful. So the song Operator as well, I want to talk about this one as well. This is another one that was also one of his biggest. So we're talking about You Don't Mess Around with Jim and Operator. Operator is kind of this gorgeously sad song, but there's I really don't know of any other song that's like it. And it definitely tells a story, and he knows how to tell a story. It's about this man, so we're thinking in the 70s. What, 72? Yeah, 72. It's about this man who's talking to a telephone operator, and he wants to get his ex, like, girlfriend or whoever's number, and he's still in love with her. And through this whole song, you see this progression of where he's like, yeah, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. Can you just give me her number? And then um he there's a part where he's like, there's something in my eyes. I can't see the the number, and their tears. You just see this progression of where he thought he was over her, but at the end he can't even talk to her. He's like, never mind. Never mind. And he writes it obviously way better than I'm telling it. So go listen to it. It's just really gorgeous. Um yeah, I love it. I'm going to talk about a few songs in this album cuz these songs are crazy and they need to be talked about, and I've got time. So, moving on to the next song, Time in a Bottle. No words to describe this song either, but I mean any of his songs, but this song especially. This is just how this is just how I guess a song how fast time goes, and how life is fleeting, time is fleeting, and his desire and people's desire to freeze time with the one that they love. So wanting to save time in a bottle. And you're looking at this person and you're like, why would I don't ever want this moment to end? And that's essentially what this song is, and it's stunning. So his inspiration behind it, which I found, and it made me love the song even more, was behind. So if we're going back to 70, let's say 70, you're he he was out. He'd been working many jobs, trying to juggle working, devoting time to music, and also Ingrid, his wife, was baking at the time, and she was trying to bake for a Pillsbury baking contest. And so she was doing that, and he came in, and she told him that she was pregnant with their son. And so it's just this scene of him being like, okay, man, I want to save time in a bottle. And he literally, after this encounter, he went and he wrote it down. He wrote it down into a poem format. And if you have ever heard this song, or if you ever want to hear this song, you have to look at the lyrics, because he just it's it's just really beautiful. And I'll say that about almost all of his songs. I just sob, and knowing the background of it makes it even better, because it's just this little life, but this little life that they had. I don't know. I'm kind of going on a ramble this episode, so sorry, but I don't know. This Going back. Okay. This album is an absolute top to bottom listen. Whole album. Go listen to it. It's a poetic musical masterpiece. But I'm also going to give you my tops. Besides the ones I mentioned, so going back just a little bit, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, Operator, and Time in a Bottle. Those are musts. Those are musts. If you want to know Jim Croce, you have to listen to those. besides those, Photographs and Memories. So the song Photographs and Memories, that one reminds me of my dad. I think that's also a gorgeous song, and I could cry thinking about it. Um, yeah, it's just a great, wonderful song. New York's Not My Home. That's another one. Walking Back to Georgia, which I thought this song was going back to like Georgia, like Savannah, Georgia, the state. It's not. It's about a real life human being, a woman. So why did I say it like that? Anyway, I love that song. It's gorgeous. Um, Rapid Roy quote or in quotations. What are these? Okay, anyway, Rapid Roy, the stock car boy. That one is a very upbeat, I don't know, maybe a little bit of 50s style in there. Love that song. Really great. And then 5, Tomorrow's Gonna Be a Brighter Day. Those songs, that song's just great. It's just very uplifting. I love this whole album. It's gorgeous. Please listen to it. Okay, moving on. From 72 to 73, he was performing over 250 concerts and making TV appearances. So Jim Croce is moving up. He is going. He's just going for it. In March of 73, he released the single Bad Bad Leroy Brown. Bad Bad Leroy Brown. It went to #1 on the American charts and then went gold. I don't know if it went gold later or in 73. This song is, I think, by far the most recognizable out of his discography. So this song, I've heard references from my whole life in sitcoms and TV shows and movies. You just hear this song. And this song is pretty straightforward if you listen to lyrics about what it's about. So this one you have to listen to. This is his most famous song. So the inspiration behind it is Jim Croce actually met a man named Leroy Brown. So who the song's about? And Leroy Brown was in basic training with him in the Army National Guard. So this is kind of the name and the essence of this character is who this song's about. So, this was Leroy Brown, this guy who was actually a real person. He was kind of this guy who talked a big game and was kind of feared by everybody. Everybody was like, "Oh, don't mess with him." But he again talked a big game. So, apparently, this is the story. One day, he was so done with the National Guard that he just left. I think there was a I saw this when I was doing my research where Jim heard him be like, "In the morning, I'm out of here," pretty much. "I'm out of here. I'm done." And so he just left. And at the end of the month, he decided to come back to get his paycheck. And they took him away in handcuffs. So that was kind of proving how, quote, bad he really was. He talked this big game, but at the end, he was in handcuffs. So I think in the song Croce, so Jim Croce actually paints him as kind of this rich Chicago gangster, and there's this definite scene in this song but he gets defeated at the end. He talks this big game, but you're he gets defeated, and that's kind of who Jim Croce talked about. He talked about the bullies, these big bullies kind of getting the underdog kind of winning every single time, the bullies getting defeated. So I like that about Jim Croce's music too. And this song is another one. It's kind of same with, not the same story, but kind of the same story, around the same scene, or how you can very vividly see. Wow. This song and Don't Mess Around with Jim, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, I feel like you can see this scene very vividly, very clearly. Yeah. I can't talk. I don't know. Okay. In July of the same year, he released the album Life and Times. This album is wonderful as well. You have a great mix of his signature slower songs, and as also his signature faster upbeat songs. So you have, this has Bad Bad Leroy Brown on it. So Life and Times, you have these slow but also fast, but he does them very well, and they're both him. He's not just known for slow songs or known for upbeat songs. So although Bad Bad Leroy Brown is one of my favorites, here are a few of my favorites as well. I mean, Bad Leroy Brown is one of the biggest, but here are my favorites. Man. So, one, Doesn't Have to Be That Way. The Christmas song I was talking to you about. Such a great Christmas song. It's such a switch up. It's so Jim Croce. It's very, very who he is, but it's really great. I love it. One Less Set of Footsteps is a great switch up from what he usually does, is not necessarily sound, but the scene, I guess. So go listen to that song. Really great. One Less Set of Footsteps. My number 3 would be Roller Derby Queen. This one's kind of funny to me. This one's very funny. Again, you can see the scene, but it just cracks me up. So go listen to it. 4, Alabama Rain. I had no clue about this song, and I really liked this song. I was kind of a little blown away. It's like, this song is really gorgeous. Man. And then 5 is Dreamin' Again. I love his dream songs. He does such good songs about dreaming. He does them very well. Okay, after the album Life and Times, the Croce family packed up and moved to San Diego, California. So they moved to California. Guys, I should have maybe mentioned this. If you've never heard of Jim Croce, I kind of led you along. Ugh. This sadly takes an unfortunate turn. And I didn't want to mention this so early in the episode. I don't know. Maybe you did know this, maybe you don't. I should have warned you sooner. Okay. So, on September 20th, 1973, Jim Croce and Murray Muehlhausen, is that how you say it? I still don't know, and 4 others were killed in a plane crash in Louisiana. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you know like this. If you knew this beforehand, I didn't string you along. But if you didn't, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. So Croce had just finished a concert at Northwestern State University. So they were going to, this is the time where he's still touring on colleges, and he's really, really getting bigger. I mean, it's so unfortunate. So they were on their way to Texas to play a concert at Austin College. So during the takeoff of the plane, from what I read, the plane didn't gain enough altitude and it crashed into a pecan tree at the end of the runway. So they didn't even get off the runway, which is so sad. And I also read that the charter pilot was also reported to have had a heart attack. So it was just kind of this, do I call it a freak accident? I mean, yeah. It's so, so sad. It's an absolute tragedy because this is where he is going. His whole family just moved to California. I mean, we're doing these big songs. He just had his biggest song. And like, who knows what he would have done? It's so sad. I, I mean, I don't even know. There's kind of no words for it. But, so yeah, Jim Croce was buried at Hayam Solomon Cemetery in Pennsylvania. So this was something that was really sad and such a tragedy. Absolutely. This song, but after his death, the day after his death, actually, the song I Got a Name was released. I think you see this with some people where after something so hard happens, you have this beautiful song that almost kind of I don't know, portrays that. I don't know if it portrayed it, but it was such a cool song, maybe. Cool is maybe not the word, but I liked how that was the song that was released after his death, because this is a song about, it also made it a little decently sadder. I don't really know the words to say, but I Got a Name was released after his death, and this song is about making your own path, knowing who you are, and pursuing personal dreams. And that's what he did. He did this. I didn't mention it earlier, and I don't know why. His parents, I mean, he was an Italian-American family. I think grandparents, his grandparents were immigrants from Sicily. So you're talking about, there's this one line that I love. Man, there are fireworks outside, if you can't hear that. So this one line I really like is, I've got a name, and I carry it with me like my daddy did, but I'm living the dream that he kept hid. So it's just this song about generational and him living out his dreams, him doing the big thing. And I've loved that. It's so sad. I mean, such a tragedy. So in December 1973, his final studio album, I Got a Name, was released after his death. So we I've always known these songs that come with this next album, but I can imagine people being like, "Oh my gosh." And he did. He did. After he died, this is when his songs became big, which is sad. But that's after he died, people heard that and they're like, "Oh my gosh." And they started listening to his songs. I mean, they really skyrocketed in 73, 74. So this album, I've Got a Name, it hit number 2 on the American charts. And the songs, I Got a Name and I'll Have to Say I Love You in a Song, reached got to the top 10. I think 9 and 10. So the song, I'll have to say, I Love You in a Song, is one of my favorite songs. It's just so beautiful. There's no other words. It's this song about you really can't, you're fumbling your words, telling somebody you love them. You can't really say it face to face. So he's like, I'm going to write a love letter in the form of a song. And it's just simply that, but it's so wonderful. And this album again has a great range of songs. And this is after his death. So this was his next album when he was going to all these colleges. So my favorites that I haven't mentioned on this album is Lover's Cross. I love this song. Oh my gosh. 2 is Working at the Car Wash Blues. Again, one of these songs about he's working at this car wash, but he wants to live this extravagant life. But he's at the car wash and working these jobs. 5, another song is 5 Short Minutes, which I was like, Jim, whoa! I like this song though. I really didn't know this was a song. Go listen to it. Thursday was very good. I really liked Thursday as well. And number 5 was Top Hat Bar and Grill. This one was just so fun and funny. It's just kind of all over the place, but it's great. He does also funny all over the place songs, which is great. So Jim Croce, we're kind of wrapping it up here, and he is one of my top 5 favorite artists of all time. Absolutely, hands down. He just, he did make an impact on this world, and it's so sad we weren't able to see what else he would have done. So he is now one of the biggest posthumous, so after death, biggest posthumous music sale booms in history. After he died, I mean, in 1974, he was beating out Elton John. You know, you have these big names, but after his death, he just really went big, which is so sad. And I'll say it, like, after artists die, you just have a boom in their music. You see it with everybody. And he was the first artist on Billboard Hot 100 to have a chart to be on the charts while living and after his death. So he charted while living and after his death, and he was the first artist to ever do that. You do see artists now do that, but he was the first. So he's just it's one of go listen to his music. I can't tell you enough. And yeah. So on September 26th, I didn't put the year. 1974. This is kind of sadly his biggest. This is where he's charting the most. About a year from when he passed, the album Photographs and Memories, his greatest hits, comes out. So, and I'll say this, I knew Jim Croce growing up, but I did not know, I would not have fallen in love with him, even in the past few months. I mean, I really started to fall in love with him because my dad sat me in a chair and he was like, I need you to go listen to Photographs and Memories, this greatest hits. And I told you that he wore this record out. And he kind of demanded me. He's like, this is your homework. And I'm so thankful that he did, because this album, just this album, this is, you have to listen to it. This is his greatest hits. This is who he was. Top 5 favorite albums, favorite artist ever. I'm so thankful that my dad told me to listen to him because I fell in love with him. And I can't wait to pass this music along to my kids. He has such a range, honestly, of songs he can do well. So, if you've never heard of Jim Croce before, I really hope that you could keep up with this episode. I was kind of all over the place. I was kind of all over the place with this episode, but I don't know. Hopefully you kept up. And if you didn't, please ask me questions. If you know more, let me know. But yeah, I just love Jim Croce, and yeah, I hope you dig deeper, fall into a rabbit hole. I'm obviously, as I say always, and I should have said at the beginning, but I forgot, I'm going to put my references in the description so you can do your own digging. You can learn more about it. This artist, I found it was kind of one, um, I definitely pulled from other like things, but a lot of them were like Facebook. So I tried to stick with what I knew. So you got kind of one website that I pulled from a lot, but I kind of linked everything there. So again, follow Notes and Nostalgia on Instagram, follow the YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you learned. Let me know about what you want to hear next. And yeah, I just really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'm so thankful that you stayed. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. It means so much to me, and I can't wait to do other artists that I love and that you guys love. So, anyway, have a great week. I can't wait to see you next time.